Jack here, JBF Music and Guitar Lessons. I'm back with one of these critique videos. So essentially this is an informal analysis. As the warning from the get-go, it's not just a reaction, I will kind of pause and talk about things as well. I'm a big Iron Maiden fan, so I'm looking forward to checking out this new song. Although I have to admit I wasn't particularly fond of Book of Souls or Final Frontier, you can check out my incredibly controversial Iron Maiden top tiers list with the eye up there. If you want to keep up to date with the stuff I put out, feel free to hit subscribe, enable notifications. I'm sure you guys know the drill. And if you enjoy this video, hitting a like and a comment, that's a huge help for the channel as well. Yeah, let's have a listen to this. Cool, this is incredibly cinematic. I mean, Maiden are a cinematic band anyway. I'm just really enjoying the kind of almost like a Western vibe from the acoustic guitar here in conjunction with this cool video. That's awesome. Okay, this is pretty cool. This is this riff is making me think of a few things at once. It's making me think of like kind of almost country music, kind of like hard rock or like southern rock. And also there's a slight medieval vibe when that higher guitar came in. And also, despite doing all these things, it still sounds like Iron Maiden. So I don't know how they've done that. Pop that back a wee second. You can hear that higher guitar as it almost sounds like Blackmore's Night or something. Some AC/DC flavors there. I'm guessing these are the Four Horsemen or something like that. Let's find out. It's a very odd mixing choice that I heard it a bit at the start. It sounded like a stereo enhancer, but it's more noticeable with the drums there. I don't know if that's on the whole song or not. There's something quite strange going on there, just in terms of the mix. It sounds like there's almost a delay over everything, or there's an effect called stereo enhancer that kind of makes things sound wider. It sounds like that's very loud in the mix. I'm wondering if this is maybe an issue with the YouTube compression, where this kind of reverby delay things in there, this kind of extra kind of effect to add kind of fullness to the sound, and the way YouTube's compressed the audio, it's brought it up in the mix. I'll probably check this out on Spotify afterwards to see if it's a YouTube only thing, because this does happen quite a bit. Mixes, and sometimes you do something, you upload it, it just sounds weird. It's a little No Prayer for the Dying reference there on that Tombstone. That is, I know it's not a highly rated album, but I really like it, probably because it was the first Maiden album I got, so nice to see a little nod to that. Steve Harris's bass tone just really coming through in that last section there. It's fantastic. Cool, and a return to that intro riff we had there. That's a nice, big, epic Maiden chorus. It's got this real kind of slow, plodding pace to it. It is making me think of a western. And also, there's this the visuals here are kind of like the Mad Max films, the like post-apocalyptic things. So it's definitely like feels like it's combining a few themes into one. And I suppose there was the kind of Union Jack and American flags there, so it's not like Maiden to get political, but I think they're probably making some commentary there. I'm going to pop that back for a second because I just noticed Nico was hitting the bell of the ride. It sounded really cool in that riff. This is kind of really high, kind of chinky sound. There's more plot in this, what's it going to be, like a 7-minute video than there is in some TV series I've watched in the past year. Feels like we're about to go into like a bridge or a solo here. I would be really interested to find out how much creative input the guys in Maiden had into the kind of storyboard of this film. This film, music video. If I'm calling it a film by a Freudian slip, that's a good thing, right? Okay, that was a cool solo. I was struggling a wee bit to work out which player it was, but I think it's Dave with a whammy bar. That's my guess. Specifically, there's one little lick that's just got Murray all over it. That little bit there, that do 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 do. That's just like instant Murray to me. I could be mistaken here. If I am, I'll have to dock myself some Maiden points because he is one of my favourite players. You know what? There is actually no prayer for the dying vibes about this song as well. I think they did on that album is they did a lot of the guitar parts just an octave, so they play the part lower than they play it higher, which is what they're doing here, and it sounds more medieval. Whereas the more kind of classic albums like Power Slave or Seventh Son, they tend to harmonize in thirds. So here they're playing in what you call unison. It's the same note, but they're playing in different registers. There was loads going on there, but I was loath to pause during that solo, which I'm pretty sure is Adrian. It was cool to see. I was enjoying the riff so much I hadn't clocked that Eddie was like a kind of samurai warrior, and then Eddie popping up as all the horsemen as well. This is like a John Wick levels of kind of, kind of slapstick violence we're having in that scene. Just an epic solo from Adrian. And thinking about it, I reckon his. This is a total guess here, but he's been doing that sort of side project with Richie Kotzen. I think Richie's writing might have had an influence on him. It wouldn't surprise me if this is an Adrian song. Like that intro riff is something I could imagine him and Kotzen like working on. And if he's taking a big solo in this song, I'm guessing it's written by Adrian. This might be my favourite Eddie, at least in a long time anyway. It's incredibly cool. I think these are Yannick outro fills, so that means we might be having a bit of lead from all the players. If I'm getting the solos right. If I'm wrong, please do correct me down below. Even working in a biblical reference towards the end of this jam-packed video as well. I think there's a lot of watchability in this. I bet there's a ton of Easter eggs. Well, that answers my question then. If the story was by Bruce Dickinson, then I'm guessing he was probably involved in kind of storyboarding that video to some extent. Smith Dickinson written. Cool, that makes sense. I like Kevin Shirley's production as well. Okay, so I went and I had a quick listen to the Spotify version, and I have to say the mix on that is great. I really like it. This one had some weird doubling going on, which didn't like... production isn't something I'm normally too much of a snob about. If it's a good song, I'm not normally too bothered, but that one did kind of hamper the listening experience to some extent. I'm kind of surprised that got through the cracks, but maybe they just spent so long on the song by the time it was together and uploaded, it was like, we just need to get it out there, and if there is a kind of weird YouTube thing, artifact going on, then so be it. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. The last two albums weren't my favourite in terms of the Maiden albums. I still like them because it's an Iron Maiden album. But it's cool for there to be a song that's getting me a bit more revved up again. Alright, I'll grab a guitar, I'll work out some of the riffs in this. Probably that cool kind of chugging main one that was going on, that I was saying was kind of like hard rock and medieval and country and all that kind of stuff. Alright, so I'm going to break down that main riff that goes throughout the song. I'm looking at the first time it pops up in the intro where there's kind of three main guitar tones going on. The first one, if you get a tone that's kind of driven like this, like a kind of fairly solid rhythm tone, you can clean it up by rolling your pot down a bit, so still a nice bit of dirt on it. But it's cleaned up quite a bit, right? And this way you can let the chords ring into each other and it's not too messy. So we're starting off with a little power chord. We've got the open D string and the second fret on the G, playing that together. I'm going to go down to the third fret on the A, pull off, and then hammer back on. So you have this. Playing that power chord, letting it ring out, this little picking that note, pull off, hammer on. Next part's a wee bit tricky. You can either flatten out this finger at the knuckle to get to this third fret on the D string, or you can bring in this finger here. Either way, you want to give the string a little bend, and then play the open G. Same thing again. So far you go. Then we're going to come down. So what that is the second fret on the D, pull off, third fret on the A. So far, let's play it slowly. Okay, second time around it starts off exactly the same with this power chord. 3rd fret, again pull off, hammer on, little bend. Then what we're going to do is come down the scale. So rather than repeating that, you just do it once. That 2nd fret on the D, open, probably pull off there. 3rd fret on the A, and then this little power chord. Open D, 2nd fret on the G to wrap it up. Cool, and just before we wrap up on this bit, when you got this 3rd fret on the A string and on the D, you want to give them a nice wee bend at this part. And also here. Obviously when you come down, maybe a bit vibrato, but you don't want to bend that because that's going to sound a bit sour. And again on the repeat, you want to bend those just for that extra kind of bluesy country feel. Then it leads on to this riff. So let's break that down. We've got the 3rd fret on the G, 2nd on the G, open. You probably want to pick those notes. Then it sounds like it's a pull off to me on at least this guitar part that we're looking at. The 3rd fret on the D, 2nd, open. And you're going to go down to the 3rd fret on the A, open A. Again, that's probably a pull off. And then 2 strums on that D5 power chord. So again, that's just the open D string, 2nd fret on the G, playing them at the same time. So you're going to pick 3, pick 2, pick open on the G, pick once on the D string, pull off, pick once on the A string, pull off, strum, strum, and that just repeats. So let's do that one slowly. 2, 3, 4. Second guitar part I'm going to look at is pretty much identical. The only difference is it's kind of more of a driven sound. You can do a bit more palm muting. So we still play this riff the same, but you want to mute it more. So rather than letting this chord ringing like that using the hammers and pull-offs, you just pick them. So we can see and hear it's the same thing as. But with more gain and played more staccato. And just like this part here, we want to play it a bit more staccato, a bit more palm muted. And the way I think this is probably done is here. So it's the same as we had in part 1, that first guitar version of the riff, but you're playing it in a different position, I think. This is me guessing, obviously I've not seen them do it live, so I can't be sure. But what we've got here is the 8th fret on the D, 7, 5, same thing on the A string, and you want to palm mute and pick all these. Down to this 3rd fret, and then open A. You might want to pull off to that. That probably is a bit more authentic. And then 2 strums on this D5 power chord. So instead of playing it here, we're just going to go 5 on the A, 7 on the D. And that a bit slower. 2, 3, 4. Final part I want to look at is a lead part. I'm going to go on my neck pickup here, and I'll zoom in so you can see the fretboard a bit more clearly. So something cool and kind of weird going on here. I'd be interested to hear this live to see if this is just a note they've kind of overdubbed in the studio, or if this is the way they actually want to play the riff in like a live context. But the way it sounds like they're doing it, this is quite a difficult one to play. There's 2 ways you could finger it, but I'll go through the way I prefer first. We're playing this A here, so that's the 14th fret on the G string. And we're playing the same riff, other than that. We're just octave. That's 10 on the D, 12 on the A, back up to 10 on the D. And what we're going to do is bend this note a tiny bit, just like we did before on the lower thing. That 10th fret on the G, up to 12, and again. And you're going to come down. So that was a 9 on the G, 12 on the D, 10. That a bit more slowly so far. Starting off really similar. just come down. So the variation there being 9 on the G, 12 on the D, 10, back up to 12. So this note here is pretty difficult to get in cleanly. You can hear I messed up there. I don't have this one properly under my fingers yet. So if this was played exactly like the lower riff up the octave, instead of starting on this note, you'd start here. And it wouldn't surprise me if they do this live and they have just added this in the studio for a bit of a pop. But only time will tell, I suppose. So if you did it that way, you'd be starting here instead of there. So you'd have... But like I say, I'm hearing this note. So that's why I'm showing that. Another way you could finger this is up here. Like I say, exactly the same notes, just in a different place. I don't like this fingering as much, but I'll break it down nonetheless. 14 on the G, down to 12 on the D, up to 15, back down to 12. And you've got 15 on the D string, 12 on the G, again that move. Then we're going to come 14 on the A, 12, down to 15 on the A. So... really similar on the repeat. All we're changing is... So that's 14 on the D, down to 12, 15 on the A, finishing up at 14 on the D. Click there for my reaction or analysis to Dave Murray's solos, there for more Maiden. Hit subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of thing, but yeah, have a good one guys, and take it easy.